As we are on the brink of a new year, would you like to see your world change? We will tell you how to see a wonderful change to your world during the year of 2020. Stay tuned for another exciting edition of End of the Age. Well, this is your day. This is Open Line, and we're so excited because we're getting really close to the beginning of our new year. Now, I've got some things I want to talk to you about right off the bat because I've had so many people come to me this past year and tell me this changed my life. And I don't mean one or two, I mean many. So what are they talking about? They're talking about the Jerusalem Prophecy College. They've enrolled in the college, and as they've moved along, they've learned so much. I've had people tell me, I thought I knew the Bible. I've been in church all my life. I thought I knew the Bible. But I am learning things I never knew before, and it's changed my life. So here's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to help me with a project. My project is simply, we want to see 5,000 people enrolled in the Jerusalem Prophecy College by January 1. Now, this is going to be, we're going to have a huge surge, so everybody please listen up out there. I'm asking you to make your most important ever New Year's resolution. No, you're not going to lose 30 pounds by June or anything like that. That's okay if you want to do that, but that's not what we're doing. Because we're on the brink, it looks like, of President Trump's peace plan being put into action. Because of that, and since it has a really strong chance of plunging us into the final 7 years, we need 5,000 people that have completed the entire curriculum of the Jerusalem Prophecy College. Now, I've got a formula for you to do this. It's not really that hard. Here's all you do. Number one, you go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com, register, enroll in your first course. Now, I found out today that there's actually a special on the enrollment because each semester, which is between 13 and 18 lessons, there's a maintenance fee of $50 or $59. However, right now our staff is running this special for $50.15. So that's another special for you to take advantage of. But the special is not the most important thing because the charge for this is so small, it's almost embarrassing. I mean, when you talk about college tuition, you're talking about several $1,000s a semester. If it's Harvard, it's $40,000 a semester. So that's not what I'm dealing with right now. But the most important thing is, if you will make a New Year's resolution, this will be the most important one you ever made. If you make a New Year's resolution that you will spend 1 hour a day just between now and June, this is only for 6 months. Between now and June, you will graduate from the Jerusalem Prophecy College by June. Now, this is going to be so exciting to you because I promise you, I've had hundreds of people tell me this changed my life forever. So go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com and immediately enroll in your first course. Register, enroll, and get started. But I want you to get started in the morning. So 1 hour per day, just set it aside. Don't let anything violate it. Don't let anything stop you. No vacation, nothing. If you'll do that, you'll be a graduate by June 1. And what that'll do, that means when this final 7 years begins, you'll know everything that's going to happen during this final 7 years. This final 7 years is going to contain more prophetic fulfillment than any other time period, listen close, since the world began. I'm telling you, this final 7 years will contain most of the events of the book of Revelation, many of the events of the book of Daniel, many of the prophecies of Jesus Christ in Matthew 24. I mean, this is going to move. There's nothing like this in the world that can help you do this. So anyway, now obviously this is not a money-making deal for Endtime Ministries. We're talking about $50.15 up until January the 30th, I understand. So, and even beyond that, it's only $59 per semester, which is ridiculously cheap. We've made it that way because we want 5,000 people to be prepared for the final 7 years. When I go to Israel, 3 years after the final 7 years begins, to knock on every Jewish door out in the area of Judea to let them know that there's horrible persecution coming and that it's going to come in the next 6 months, that they need to get out. Once we do that, well, you're going to be qualified to be one of those people. So I'm asking you right now, JerusalemProphecyCollege.com, register, enroll in your first course, get ready with me to serve the Lord during this most critical final 7 year time period. We'll be right back.
About our trip, it was a wonderful experience. We totally enjoyed the time spent with other believers, worshiping and experiencing the places where Christ walked. One of our favorites was being on Mount Moriah, where the Holy of Holies are, the Dome of the Spirit. And the teachings that Brother Baxter did was so enlightening. It was so much to take in. It will take us another month or two to really grasp the full extent of the knowledge we received on this trip. Our tour guide in Israel was fantastic. He was very knowledgeable. I think God chose him just for us. Thanks, Jana. Our lives will never be the same. We will try to do this tour again. Mike and Julie L., Cayman Islands.
Join us May 1st through May 16th, 2020, for a trip to the wonderful land of Israel and the Holy Roman Empire reborn.
We've seen Bible prophecy fulfilled like never before. From the halls of the United Nations to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, Endtime Ministries continues to reveal the Bible prophecy in the news headlines around the world every day. Whether it's through our broadcast or online at our Jerusalem Prophecy College, your gifts enable us to put vital materials in the hands of those who need it most. Because of you, we continue to replace fear with faith in the hearts of Christians around the world. We will continue to see prophecy come to pass at an even swifter pace. We need your support. Your donation of any amount enables us to continue to broadcast and be a voice in the ever-growing censored media. To become a partner or give a one-time gift, visit endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME right now. That's 800-363-8463. Go online now. Visit endtime.com.
We're getting right to the phones, and let's go right now to New Zealand. Alan is calling from New Zealand. Hello, Alan.
How are you today, Irvin?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much.
Hey, first of all, I'd like to thank you and all of your team there. You know, I've been privileged to travel to Endtime a couple of times, and I see all of the operations day to day and everything that goes on there. So all of their hard work again in 2019, I know it just ramps up again in 2020, so I'd like to thank all of them for everything that they do, first of all.
Well, thank you very much, Alan. It's always been a delight to have you, and we appreciate all that you do there in New Zealand.
Irvin, I had a thought the other day. I was thinking about in Revelation 13, it mentions the two beasts there, and one of the beasts has two horns. We know that represents the false prophet. We know also that whoever is a false prophet at the time will be the Pope. So In Catholic doctrine, I was thinking about this. In Catholic doctrine, it teaches that the Pope has two powers, temporal power and spiritual power. Do you think there is any possibility that two horns, which we know represents kingdoms, when we look at the horns in Revelation and Daniel, do you think that represents or is symbolic of the temporal spiritual power that the Pope believes that he has?
Well, Alan, that actually is what I believe. I do believe that the two horns that represent the false prophet do represent the spiritual and the temporal power. Believe it or not, I was in a church, and I'm trying to remember where it was in Italy, but it's one of the Catholic cathedrals there, and I actually saw a lamb with two horns, and I couldn't believe it that they would have that in one of their stained glass windows. Nevertheless, that is what I believe. I've seen pictures of a pope with two swords in his hand, and that represents the spiritual power and the temporal power, because they not only believe that the pope should be the spiritual leader of the world, but they also believe he should be the temporal leader of the world. When he takes his oath of office, they say to him, "We now crown you king of, father of the kings and the rulers of this world." And so it is the strong belief of the Roman Catholic Church that the Pope should rule over all the kings of the earth. And that is borne out in many of the prophecies about the false prophet of the last times.
Very good. One last comment. I'm actually teaching in a couple of days here in New Zealand at a conference. I was reflecting this morning while I've been working, Irvin, and it was 20 years ago I realized that I did my first Endtime presentation. It was almost like headline news type, like what we used to do back in the early days, almost prophetic updates. So if there's anyone listening in New Zealand, we're going to be doing it in 2 days' time in Pukekohe. Even we try to do our part here in New Zealand. I know there's many people around New Zealand that listen. So, yeah, if they want to get in contact with Endtime, and then Endtime can put them in contact with me in 2020. Well, best for the new year.
You know, Alan, I have been so gratified to watch your personal growth over the years. When you first began to work with us, you were not being nearly as effective as you are right now. So we pray for you. We thank God for how he's using you there in New Zealand. And we're hoping that this will happen over and over and over and over again around the world, because the Bible does say this gospel, the kingdom shall be preached in all the earth, and then shall the end come. So anyway, congratulations on what God has allowed you to do. I got the picture the other day of you baptizing the one individual who was a graduate from the Jerusalem Prophecy College. And that really caused our heart to rejoice. So you're doing a great work there. Keep it up.
Okay, thank you. Look forward to working with you again in 2020.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And by the way, we have open lines today. If you'd like to be on the air with me, the number to call, 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. Now, I've got a couple more things I wanted to say to you. As you know, here we are, December the 27th. That means a lot of people are wrapping up their end of the year giving. Some people, you may look at your taxes that are coming up, and you may be worried about being pushed up into another bracket or something. And so you want to make a contribution to someone that's doing a lot of good. Well, if you would remember Endtime Ministries in that, we would really appreciate it. We've got such huge things to do for the Lord in the year 2020. We're calling it Vision 2020. Of course, if you have perfect vision, they say you have 2020 vision. Well, that's the way we're looking at the year 2020, that this is going to be the time of the fulfillment of our vision. So anyway, if you're out there and you'd like to do that, that's critical that we either receive your donation, if you want it on your tax records for 2019 year, then you need to have it in the mail and postmarked by 2019. It's illegal for us to give you a tax receipt for 2019 if it's not postmarked by 2019. Also, a lot of you like to donate stocks. This has been a great year for stocks, and if you own some stocks, they may have gone up quite exponentially this year, and I hope they have. But this has been an incredible year for the stock market, But if you would like to make a donation, but you would like to give stock, that's a wonderful way to donate. Because let's say you bought something for $10,000 and it has gone up to $20,000, you can donate that stock to Endtime Ministries and you get a tax receipt for $20,000. And yet, you do not have to pay any capital gains tax on that. So you get no taxes, and then you also get a tax receipt for a $20,000 donation. And it's a great, great blessing to Endtime Ministries. So if you would like to do that, but please do not wait, because you have to move very quickly now. That transaction has to be done by yet this year, 2019. So if you'd like to do that, get hold of your broker immediately. Tell them what you want to do. Matter of fact, the first thing to do is call here, 800 Endtime, and ask to speak to Jana. Or you can actually email Jana at jrobbins, that's JROBBINS.com, and just tell her you'd like the information that you need in order to transfer stock to Endtime Ministries, and she can get it right to you. But if you need to talk to her, just call 1-800-ENDTIME and ask to speak to Janet. She's here with us in the office right now, so you can call her. And by the way, whether you're donating right now or not, we do want to pause to thank all of you for your support throughout this year of 2019. It has been such an important year. This year we've had a huge escalation in people enrolling in the Jerusalem Prophecy College. In addition to that, we've also published Volume 1 of the Revelation Commentary, which was a great achievement, and we're hoping to get Volume 2 done in 2020. So that's another thing that you can pray for us about. But we appreciate everything, whether you're a contributor or a listener. We thank you for participating with Endtime Ministries, and for all of you that are partners, thank you so very much for your kindness, for your prayers, for your generosity. We thank you so much, and the Lord has really used you this year, and we're seeing so many people saved, so many great things happening, so we really thank you. One more thing before I get back to the phones. Janet tells me that our registration for our next tour is now open, and this next tour is one of my favorite ones. It is Israel and then the Holy Roman Empire. Now, the Antichrist and the false prophet will both come out of the Holy Roman Empire, which is in Europe. The Holy Roman Empire was dead from 1806 until 2009. But in 2009, the Holy Roman Empire was reborn. When you go with us on this tour, I'll be with you every step of the way, and we'll be teaching along the way the prophecies about the Holy Roman Empire and their significance. And you will actually, you never know, you may visit the place where the Antichrist is going to come from. But we know for sure the Antichrist will come out of Europe, as the false prophet will. So it's going to be a great and wonderful time. So if you want to go on this tour, just call us right now, ask to speak to someone about the tour. Get signed up right now so you don't get left out. And Judy and I will be with you every step of the way. It's going to be a great time. Well, I've got a lot of things to promote today, because here we are at the end of the year. We got to get all this in. Let's get right back to the phones now, though. And let's go to Gary calling from right here in Texas. Hello, Gary.
Hello, Irvin. My question is regarding Joel chapter 2, and it speaks of a end-time revival and the day of the Lord and how strong these people are. And I was always taught it was Joel's army and referred to as Joel's army. And in verse 9 it says, they shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. And I was told that that was a prophecy of television, an end-time prophecy of this revival that would be entering in at the windows like a thief. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, there is prophecy of great revival in Joel. However, the passage you are referring to, I do not believe is revival. I believe that's a prophecy about the Battle of Armageddon. Because if you'll notice there, that army, when they're thrust through with the sword, they don't fall. That's after Jesus comes in the sky and his church is caught up to meet him in the air. We're changed from mortal to immortal beings. We then will come with him to the Mount of Olives to fight the Battle of Armageddon. And in our immortal state, of course, we won't be affected by knives or swords or bullets or anything else. We will be immortal, which means unable to die. So consequently, that particular passage is referring to us fighting with Jesus Christ against the world government armies and the armies of the Antichrist. So that's what that is referring to. However, there's also great revival prophesied in the book of Joel. The Bible says, in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. And the last days I will pour out my spirit, saith the Lord. So yes, there is great revival coming. The great revival will actually happen before the Battle of Armageddon. The great revival is also described in Revelation chapter number 7. Almost the entire chapter, the first 8 verses are devoted to a Jewish revival, the sealing of the 144,000, 12,000 out of each tribe. And then the next few verses, verse 9 through 14, is describing a Gentile revival. The Bible says it will be a great multitude that no man can number, out of every kindred, every people, every nation, every tongue. So consequently, that's what we see there. It's going to be very, there are great things ahead. And that's one reason that we are pushing the Jerusalem Prophecy College so strong, is because it will equip people and get them ready to participate in this great revival. So that's the way I understand the passage you're referring to, Gary.
Could I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
On verse 9, it says, they shall run to and fro. I read that. They shall enter the windows like a thief. Verse 10 says, the earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble, and the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. That sounds like, when the Lord comes back, that the sun would be darkened, the moon would turn to blood, and the stars would fall from heaven.
Yes, that is exactly what that is. That is when Jesus comes back, all that will take place. The Battle of Armageddon will take place. The Antichrist, the false prophet, will be destroyed. Satan will be bound for 1,000 years, and we will crown Jesus King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So you're absolutely right. That's the same thing as you read about in Matthew chapter 24, verse 29 through 31. Same thing.
Okay. Now help me understand. The Lord comes back, the rapture happens, we meet him in the air, and we come back to fight the Battle of Armageddon? Or
yes, we come back with Jesus Christ. Israel will be on the brink of losing the Battle of Armageddon. However, when Jesus comes, he will intervene. The sequence of these events you can read in Zechariah chapter 14, verse 1 through 4. He will come back, put his feet on the Mount of Olives, and that is when the Antichrist, the false prophet, will be destroyed. Now, in Revelation chapter 17, it talks about the Antichrist, or the beast, and his 10 king base. And the Bible says these will make war against the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is King of kings and Lord of lords. So, yes, when Jesus comes back, the Antichrist and his government will actually fight against Jesus Christ. Of course, that will be futile, but I do not know what they will be thinking, whether they will think they can actually fight against Jesus Christ, or whether they will think this is some kind of an alien invasion. All the talk about UFOs and aliens that's going around these days, they may well think that, but they're going to fight against Jesus Christ, and he will fight against them and defeat them, and that's when we will crown him King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
One last question. Verse 8 that you quoted, neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every man his path, and they'll fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded.
Yes.
Verse 10 comes after that, with the earth quaking and the moon turning dark and the stars withdrawing their shining. So I thought that the Battle of Armageddon happened after the moon is dark and the stars are fall in the great earthquake, or it sounds here that they're not trusting one another, not dying before that happens.
Well, as far as charting the exact order of the events, I'm trying to see the best way I can tell you there, Gary. We know the Bible says that the Antichrist, this is Revelation chapter 12, verse number 13 through 17. And there it says that the earth, that the dragon will thrust out after Israel to destroy her, but the earth will open its mouth and will help the woman. So the earthquake that's going to happen, according to Revelation 11, there's going to be 7,000 that will die in that earthquake. That may be this same event. When you talk about the shaking of the earth, there's not only will 7,000 die there, but whole cities will be destroyed. Mountains and islands will move out of their places. That's the same time that Rome is going to be destroyed. And the earthquake will reach all the way to Rome and around the world. So to tell you, to chart exactly, step by step by step, exactly what happens when, you know how the chaos of war is. I cannot tell you perhaps which one happens exactly first, but all these things will be happening so fast, and they will all be culminating so rapidly during the Battle of Armageddon.
Okay, I just always thought that they shall not thrust one another had to do with the tongue and using our tongue as a sword to, instead of edify one another, to lift each other up and not to kill with the sword of the tongue.
In my opinion, Gary, that definitely is speaking of the fact that we will be immortal, and that when people try to fight against Jesus Christ and his army, that activity will be futile. That's the way I see it. Listen, I'm going to let you go, Gary. Thank you very much for your phone call. And let's go right now to Cheryl, calling from right here in Texas. Hello, Cheryl.
Yes, sir. Hello, Brother Baxter. It's an honor to talk with you. I had a couple of quick questions. One being, I understand your teachings on the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire, and you know the possibility, or we thought there may be a possibility of the EU Army Initiative as being part of the 10 horns on the beast. But what do you think of the potential that the 10 horns may be representative of Erdogan and rebirth of the Turkish or the Ottoman Empire?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I brought you in really late here, Cheryl. I hope you could stay with me into the next segment of the program, because your question's too important for me just to answer it shortly. So I'll give you the answer in the next segment of the program. You're listening to End of the Age.
Move Mountains with Irvin Baxter. This book by Irvin's grandson provides 30 days of devotion that will enhance your relationship with God and others. Authentic illustrations from early morning devotions at Endtime will help you find your purpose and eliminate fears. Commit to taking this 30-day journey and experience real life change. Get your book for only $14.99. Call 1-800-363-8463 or go to endtime.com/move.
If ever people needed to hear the unvarnished truth, it is now. There are some subjects that are not politically correct to talk about, but they're urgent. That's why I'm grateful for Endtime magazine. If you're not a subscriber, you're missing information that will impact your life. Endtime has a bi-monthly magazine that explains how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. You can get a 2-year subscription for only $29. You can also get a bulk subscription and pass them out to your church. We have gotten reports that Endtime magazine has caused spiritual awakenings in churches when they see the prophecies being fulfilled right now. You can start your own ministry and leave them in doctors' offices, libraries, laundromats. You never know if you might be responsible for saving someone who is searching for the unvarnished truth. That's what the magazine has done in many lives. Call 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463 and get your subscription today.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archive button.
Before I return to Cheryl's question, let me take just a moment to remind you that I'm encouraging you to make the best New Year's resolution you've ever made. Now, this one is not just normal, it's important. And I cannot tell you how important it is. All I can say is, it looks like that we could well see the beginning of the final 7 years in 2020. I think the possibility is incredibly strong. I have reasons for saying that. Because of that, I want you to get through the Jerusalem Prophecy College before that happens. Because once that happens, it's going to be like everything just goes downhill with ever gathering speed. So I'm asking you to make a New Year's resolution. Now, maybe you started, but you've gotten stalled, or you just became negligent. I'm asking you to get back in the game. Or if you have, I know about many of you, you registered, but you never ended up enrolling in your first course. Please go back. If you have to re-register, do it. Or if your registration is still good, then go ahead and enroll in your first course. I want you to get through this college by June 1. And I've made a calculation that if you will give it 1 hour per day, 7 days a week, that's how important this is, 1 hour per day, you can graduate from the college by June. So right now, go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com, register, enroll in your first course, and get started. Now, I'm just urging you, make that your New Year's resolution, and do not miss a day. I mean, if you've got to set your alarm and get up 1 hour earlier per day, in 6 months, you'll be a graduate from the Jerusalem Prophecy College. And that means you're going to know everything that's going to happen during that final 7 years and what you should be doing about it. I cannot tell you, this is by far the best New Year's resolution you could ever make. So please, I'm encouraging you out there. We right now have about 3,600 people enrolled in the college. We've gone from 200 to 3,600 in the last 2 years. But I was hoping to get to 5,000 by January the 1st, and we still could if you all out there, but everybody needs to respond, everybody. And all I'm telling you is, now this is really nothing for me, except God needs you, I need you, Endtime Ministries needs you, your neighbors, your friends, your families, they all need you. Somebody is going to need to really understand all this. And once it starts, it's going to be Katie bar the door. It's going to be all downhill with ever-gathering speed. So now is the time to prepare. And so I'm asking you to do it. Go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com. All right, now let me get back to Cheryl's question. She was asking about the 10-horned beast of Daniel chapter number 7. And could it be the 10-nation union recently put together by Emmanuel Macron? And that 10-nation union now has added 4 more. So apparently it's not the 10-nation union. The European Intervention Initiative is what EII stands for. However, now they have 14 members, so it looked like it could be the 10-horned beast, but apparently it's not. So her question was, could this be out of the revived Ottoman Empire? It cannot be, Cheryl, and here's why. The Bible teaches not only is this beast going to have 10 horns, which it says these 10 horns represent 10 kings, but then when you go to Daniel chapter 2, in the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, with the head of gold, Babylon, the arms and breasts of silver, Media Persia, the belly and thighs of brass, the Grecian Empire, the legs of iron, the Roman Empire, and the feet of iron mingled with clay, the Holy Roman Empire. So we know the feet and the toes are of iron mingled with clay, representing the Holy Roman Empire. And verse 44 of chapter 2 says, and in the days of these kings, talking about the 10 kings symbolized by the 10 toes, the 10 horns, the 10 toes, same thing. So the 10 toes are going to be made out of iron mingled with clay, which means they are going to be a part of the Holy Roman Empire. That's not part of the Ottoman Empire. Two different things. So the 10 horns and the 10 toes symbolize the exact same thing, and they will be the Holy Roman Empire reborn. And by the way, the Holy Roman Empire was reborn on November the 3rd of 2009, and we're going to be touring the Holy Roman Empire at our tour this spring, May 1st through May the 16th. I'm telling you, you want to go on that trip. That's all I'm telling you. You want to go on that trip, and there's no better year than now, because we may see the beginning of the final 7 years. We could see it by the time we're there in May. Can't promise you that, but this is going to be an incredibly interesting tour. If you're wanting to go to Israel, this is the ultimate trip, not only to go to Israel, but also to go to the Holy Roman Empire throughout Europe, and you will actually go to where the Holy Roman Empire was born. You will tour the cathedral that was built by Charlemagne, the father of the Holy Roman Empire, and he's buried inside that cathedral. You're going to go inside that cathedral and see where he is, still there, still buried there. Many different things I don't take time to tell you, but if you're interested in going on this trip, you should contact us immediately. 800 Endtime is the number to call. Just ask to speak to someone about the tour, or if you'd like to email us or whatever the case, we'll send you all the information that you need so you can make a good decision. Okay, well, anyway, let's get right back to the phones now. Judy is calling from Georgia. Hello, Judy.
Hi, Irvin. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much.
Okay, I had a question about the leopard being Germany. I had wanted to know, why did it have wings of a fowl? And also, when I look up the leopard tank, did this tank is so famous, did it fight in World War II, or how do I know for sure that that is the leopard?
Well, number one, like I said, Germany's tank, the leopard tank, became the most powerful and famous tank. It became the heart of the armies of NATO, and it's called the leopard tank because Germany's symbol is the leopard. But beyond that, Webster's online International Dictionary states that the leopard was the symbol of Germany back in the days of Adolf Hitler. And then the other thing is, the leopard had 4 heads. All the rest of the beasts of Daniel 7 have 1 head each. The lion, Great Britain; the bear, Russia; the leopard, United States. But the eagle, the United States, but the leopard had 4 heads because Germany has risen 4 times. First Reich, Second Reich, Hitler's Third Reich, and the Fourth Reich, which is now rising. I have a book in my library called The Fourth and Richest Reich, How Germany Conquered the Post-War World. Germany dominates Europe right now, and Europe is the strongest economic force on earth, the European Union. They passed America economically in 2007. And then you're asking the question, what about the 4 wings of the fowl upon the back? I don't know whether you've ever heard of the Franco-German alliance or not, but that's a very common terminology. The Franco-German alliance has rebuilt Europe since the devastation of World War II. They have worked together. Together they have built the common market, and then once the common market was completed, they changed it to the European Union. So France and Germany, joining together, have rebuilt Europe and rebuilt the Holy Roman Empire. Now, that's the reason that the wings of the fowl, the official animal symbol of France, is the rooster. You can look this up on the internet. A rooster is a fowl. So the wings of the rooster on the leopard and the 4 heads of the leopard, all of it represents the Franco-German Empire. That's the reason I believe so strongly that this is the proper understanding.
Yeah, I believe that too, because Germany was such a strong force at attacking the Jews. I mean, it would have to be in the Bible. So I just wanted to, a more clarification on that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you as well. The Bible also says there in that prophecy in Daniel 7 that dominion was given to the leopard. And Germany has dominated European history for the last 1,000 years. Almost every time the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire was from Germany, almost every time. And Germany has dominated Europe. They started the Franco-German War of 1870, World War I, World War II, was all plotted and planned and started by Germany. If it had not been for a miracle, Hitler would have conquered the world. It's called the miracle of Dunkirk. We were within 3 days of having to declare for peace on Hitler's terms. But something said to Hitler, you're making a mistake, you're falling into a trap. He ordered a halt for reassessment. And during those 3 days of halt, Great Britain mobilized every boat they had, and back and forth across the English Channel they went. They pulled out 340,000 men in that 3-day period. And when Hitler cranked his war machine back up, the men were all gone. And they were safely in Great Britain. The English Channel is an 18-mile wide body of water, and they lived to reinvade Germany at the beaches of Normandy. So it was a miracle that God did, and saved the world from Adolf Hitler.
Correct. All right. Thank you so much. That was very enlightening. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you as well. By the way, we do have some open lines if you'd like to get on the air. 877-END-TIME is the number to call to reach our operators, to inquire about the tour, to make an end-of-the-year donation. That number is 800-END-TIME. Whichever you would like to do. Let's get right back to the phones now. And let's go to David calling from Virginia. Hello, David.
Hey, Pastor. It's an honor to talk to you.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about Ezekiel 38 and 39, where who is Gog and Magog? And do you think the vials of Revelation are going to be primarily poured out upon them?
Yes. Gog and Magog, the chief prince of Meshech. Now, the word Meshech gives us our best clue, because if you look in a large unabridged dictionary, under Meshech, it'll say the root word for Muscovy or Moscow. And it also calls him the prince of Meshech and Tubal. There is a Tobol River in Russia, and there's also a city in Russia called Tobolsk. All these are names from Russia. And so Russia is going to be the leading force, but then in addition to Russia, the passage goes on to say there in Ezekiel 38 that Persia will be there. Today, Persia is known as Iran. That Togarma will be there. That's Turkey. And right now, Turkey, Iran, and Russia are in alliance, and all three of them have troops in Syria just over the northern border of Israel. So everything is shaping up right now to fulfill this prophecy. Now, when you talk about the vials being poured out, it says, I will plead against Gog with blood, with pestilence, with fire. And so I do believe that those are the vials as they're described in Revelation chapter number 16. I believe that this is another account of the Battle of Armageddon, and that the vials will be poured out against the invading armies. The vials are not going to be worldwide. They will be against the invading armies of Israel that are coming against Israel, just like the plagues were poured out upon the Egyptians, but they did not affect the Israelis back in biblical times. The vials and the plagues, if you lay them side by side, are almost exact duplicates. So the vials will not be worldwide, or there would be no world left to continue on into the millennium. So they're not going to be worldwide. They're going to be centered on the invaders of the nation of Israel at that time.
Thank you, sir. God bless.
Okay, you're welcome. We have one more segment. We do have open lines. 877-END-TIME is the number to call. Give us a call if you would like to inquire about our tour, or if you'd like to make an end-of-the-year donation. That number is 800-END-TIME. And we have one segment to go, so we'll be right back.
Does the book of Revelation frighten you? Do its symbols confuse you? For centuries, the book of Revelation has been misunderstood and misinterpreted. In Revelation, the unveiling of Jesus Christ, Volume 1, Irvin Baxter unlocks the mystery of the book of Revelation with in-depth analysis and commentary like you've never heard before. This 10-part definitive DVD series and 268-page comprehensive commentary book covers the first 12 chapters of the book of Revelation, featuring on-location photography, classic artwork, and symbolic illustrations. You'll walk away with complete understanding and peace about the events happening during the final years on Earth. These comprehensive study tools, available for $299, will deepen your biblical understanding as you dig into the original intent of the book, answering the mysterious prophecies and symbols of the book of Revelation. Don't miss this special offer. Call now, 1-800-END-TIME, or go to endtime.com to order. Call or go online now to get this comprehensive Bible study.
The Likud party in Israel had their elections yesterday, and many people wondered what was going to happen. A man by the name of Saar was challenging Benjamin Netanyahu for the leadership of the Likud party. Netanyahu won in a landslide. As a matter of fact, let me give you a little bit of the commentary about it, because I thought it was so interesting. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised in his victory speech after winning Thursday's Likud primary that if re-elected prime minister, he will bring about American recognition of Israeli sovereignty over every Jewish community in Judea, Samaria. Now, that's not all. Let's go a little further. In the years ahead, we will deliver more achievements that could have only been dreamed of, he said. We will set our final borders. He's talking about during my next term. If I'm reelected, I got 4 years to go, we will set the final borders. That means there's going to be a peace agreement. This is Netanyahu. This is not me. This is Netanyahu speaking in today's Jerusalem Post. We will set the final borders, which is what has to happen in the peace agreement. We will bring about American recognition for Israeli control over the Jordan Valley. Number 3, the Dead Sea and our sovereignty over every settlement in Judea and Samaria. Already we saw a map of Judea, Samaria be under the control of the Palestinians, but every settlement remains under Jewish sovereignty. It'll be hooked up by a road back into Israel proper. And this is exactly what the map looks like that Netanyahu published before the last elections on September the 17th. And according to Netanyahu, everything he planned to do was the same thing in Trump's peace plan. So it looks like he's letting us know that Trump's peace plan is going to set the borders. Not one Jew will be under Palestinian control. He says we will obtain a defense pact with the U.S. that will ensure Israeli freedom to act. We will defeat Iran and achieve a peace pact with the Arab countries. Already America is working on all that right now. This sounds like the peace agreement that triggers the final 7 years. Netanyahu received 41,792 votes, which was 72.5% of the vote. Saar got 15,885 votes, which was 27.5%. Out of the 106 polling stations across the country, Netanyahu won 99, Saar only 7. And then finally, Saar called Netanyahu to concede the race and promised him that he and the 5 Likud MKs who supported him would stand behind the prime minister ahead of the March 2nd Knesset race. Some people think that this overwhelming victory on the part of Netanyahu will help him in the elections to be held on March the 2nd. Don't know how that's all going to turn out, but he's campaigning when he makes all these promises. He said, we will have final borders in my next term. That's quite a promise for him to make. Then finally, the article went on to say the Likud faction chairman, Mickey Zohar, said the results proved that the nation backs Netanyahu despite the media. He called upon Netanyahu to seek immunity from prosecution in his criminal cases so he could remain prime minister. If Netanyahu were elected and had a majority government, that majority government can vote to give him immunity from prosecution as long as he is prime minister. So if he can have a surge as a result of this election that was held yesterday, which he won handily. Now, this is not the election for prime minister. This was the primary because he was being challenged by Mr. Saar as the leader of the Likud party. Well, he beat back that challenge overwhelmingly. Now then they'll have the regular election on March the 2nd. I do not yet know how it's going to turn out. All I can tell you is Netanyahu is promising to do the things that the Bible says the last day peace agreement will do. And he also made the statement, all that I'm doing is in perfect harmony with President Trump's deal of the century. Now, President Trump has promised to release his deal of the century immediately after these next elections when the new government is formed. We're going to have to wait and see until after March the 2nd how all this turns out. But we are living in really amazing territory. Let me remind you, we need everybody to get through the Jerusalem Prophecy College before all this comes down. So if you're not yet started, get started today, and make it your New Year's resolution. All right, we're going right back to the phones now. And Jamie is calling from Indiana. Hello, Jamie.
Hello.
What's on your mind?
I was just curious to know if you believe in pre, mid, or post tribulation, and why.
Okay, the first answer is there's no such thing as mid-tribulation. I know that that's been talked about, but that presumes that there's a 7-year tribulation. There's not one scripture in the entire Bible that talks about a 7-year tribulation. There are 6 specific scriptures that say the Great Tribulation will last for 3.5 years. Now, there is a 7-year period called Daniel's 70th week, but the Great Tribulation does not begin, according to Jesus, until the halfway mark. At the halfway mark, Jesus said, when you see the abomination of desolation, then if you're in Judea, flee for your life, because then will be Great Tribulation. So the Great Tribulation does not start until the midpoint of the final 7 years. Now, I was taught pre-trib all my life. However, when I began to study my Bible carefully, I found some scriptures I could not get around. And I have reached the conclusion that I had to convert, in order to conform with the Bible, I had to convert to post-trib. Let me give let me give you one scripture, Jamie. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 29, it tells us in plain language, this is Jesus speaking, immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, the moon shall not give her light, the stars will fall from heaven, then shall appear the sign of the coming of the Son of Man. He will send his angels to gather his elect. Now that's immediately after the tribulation. It says the angels will gather his elect. That's the rapture. So it specifically says that it happens after the tribulation.
I absolutely agree with that statement. I normally don't get too much into it with people because it just kind of seems to go in circles and never get anywhere. But I read the Bible for, at least I try, for as it is. I mean, just exactly, and I go to a Bible-based Baptist church too, but I totally agree with you that it's post, because you can't explain away that thing. You can't explain away that verse, and there's a couple other verses too. So I was just curious what your opinion was, and actually we think the same.
Well, very good. I appreciate that, Jamie. And, I started out pre-trib. That's what I've been taught all my life. But when I started hitting those scriptures, I either had to change the Bible or I had to change me. And I was afraid to change the Bible, so I changed to conform to the Bible. And so, if they've signed this peace agreement this coming year, everybody's going to have to either switch or something, because at that point we're going to be thrown into the final 7 years, and we're all still going to be here. So
that's right, and everybody can unanimously agree, whether you're pre or post-trib, that when the peace agreement, everybody's unanimous in that when that comes, and you won't be able to explain away post-trib. Once that happens, you're right. Everybody's going to have to.
Yeah, right. And, of course, the important thing of that is not winning an argument. The important thing of that is that we will be able to know what we should be doing, because the greatest revival the world has ever known is going to happen during this final 7 years, and the greatest apostasy the world has ever known is going to happen during this final 7 years. So much of the world will follow the Antichrist, the false prophet, but there is going to be a counter movement that's going to be a great revival of people that are saying, look, that man right there is the Antichrist. They're building the temple on the Temple Mount. His religious partner's the false prophet. Don't go that way. And they're passing out the mark of the beast. Don't take the mark of the beast. So we're going to have two different forces upon the earth at that time. And it's going to be a great standoff between good and evil, between truth and error, but it's going to be a wonderful time as well. And that's another reason that people really, really need to know their Bibles at this particular time. Thank you very much, Jamie. I got to let you go. Let's go now to David, calling from right here in Texas. Hello, David.
Hello, Mr. Irvin. Two things, please. Okay. You were just talking about the 7 year, the last 7 years could start in 2020.
Yes.
So would that mean that the Sixth Trumpet War would be after the peace treaty?
If the peace treaty happens and we haven't had the war yet, then absolutely. Here's what we know for sure, David. We know that war has to occur before the Great Tribulation begins. The Great Tribulation begins halfway through the final 7 years. So, yes, if they sign the peace agreement, and if it is the peace agreement that fulfills the prophecy, which it looks like it will be, then we will move into the final 7 years. The war would then have to happen within the next 3.5 years.
So would Israel be involved with that? Because surely Iraq would want to entice Israel of getting in that war.
Well, the Bible does not say whether Israel will be involved in that war or not. All we're told is that the war will start from the Euphrates River and that it will kill 1/3 of mankind. So, right today, Russia, China, and Iran are holding naval maneuvers in the Persian Gulf. That's happening today. It's almost like they're rehearsing for this war that's coming. So I cannot tell you. The Bible doesn't even say exactly who's going to be in the war. All it says is it will emanate from the Euphrates River. The Euphrates River is contained by 4 nations: Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. Those 4 nations contain the Euphrates. They're probably all going to be sucked into the war because, and it will probably be an Islamic war as well. But China may well be in the war. Others may be in the war. We just simply do not know because the Bible does not give us all those details. But China will probably have to be in. America will have to be in. It's very likely Russia will be in because you don't kill 2.5 billion people without a total nuclear war being unleashed. That's where we are right now, it looks like to me.
Okay. All right, one more thing. Can I, if I could, I've got a family member that is so in the come out of her, my people, so you don't partake of her sins, that church. Both feet in. How can I get, she's 81, she won't budge, rosaries, all of that.
Okay, let me answer you quick because I'm about out of time, David. We have a little brochure called Why So Many Churches and Which Is Right. If you will contact us, we'll send you a copy of it. Or we also have a DVD, which is called True Christianity versus False Christianity. Both of those items deal with come out of her, my people. And I would really encourage you to get those items, and perhaps if you could give those to her, allow her to watch the DVD or allow her to read the pamphlet, maybe it would help her. Totally out of time, got to let you go. Once again, don't forget, Jerusalem Prophecy College, join our tour. The number to call, 800 Endtime.
This has been End of the Age, brought to you by the faithful partners of Endtime Ministries. If you're not currently a partner with Endtime Ministries, or if you would like more information, we invite you to call us at 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or visit us online at endtime.com.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page.